Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish Podcast. Today, we are turning the tables. Tom is interviewing me for the first time. We hope that you enjoy this episode. It's a fun conversation, and you might just learn something new that you didn't know before. We'll see you inside the episode. Well, hey, Tom, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited for this episode.
All right. Well, today we're flipping the script, Melissa. So I'm going to ask you questions. And you're going to have to do some talking. You can hear my voice. I have a cold, battling. We're talking about different remedies for colds.
Yep.
You're big on bone broth.
Yep, it works.
How many days and how many drinks of bone broth do you need to take?
At least three. And, you know,
three drink 3 cups per day.
No. 1 cup a day. I can't.
Okay.
I can't get more than 1 cup of that stuff down a day.
All right.
I've shared with you how I feel about the taste of it. It's not fantastic, but it works. It
Drink 1 cup a day for 3 days and you'll be better.
And it helps. Yeah. Okay. There was a time when I was still working at St. Mary's, I was drinking it every single day. And my coworkers at the office, Allison, our volunteer coordinator, was like, "Oh, you have that stinky bone broth again." But it works for a lot. I mean, I didn't get sick through that whole season. And you know how it can get during the winter and then Lent as everybody's preparing for, you know, everything in the parish that happens during Lent. So kept me from not getting sick. So it was good.
All right. My current philosophy is garlic, raw clove garlic. And I didn't really do it as I was like this cold came on like I woke up Sunday morning. Today's Thursday. I woke up Sunday and it was just, here it is.
Man.
And then, achy. And then, so yesterday I just wanted to die.
Yes.
Like, people are like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I just want to die." And it was funny. My son made this joke. My 15-year-old said like that he had seen a meme or something like guys cut their finger off. Oh, it's a flesh wound. They get sick. I want to die. You know, they get a cold. I want to die. And it's totally the way I feel. So
some of my friends and I call that a man cold, Tom. Just
okay.
saying.
All right. I'll admit, yeah, I'll rather like other physical pain than a cold.
But they're rough.
All right. So today, though, we are flipping the script, and I'm going to interview you. And unlike when Melissa does these podcasts, she prepares these vast list of questions that she then sends to the guests. And, you know, we never get to all the questions. Just as a behind the curtain here, I did not send Melissa any kind of questions. So
I have no idea what we're talking about today. It's a surprise for me, too.
All right. So, I thought telling your story a little bit, Melissa. You've got to ask other people about their stories, as we've had guests on the podcast from Chris Stefanik to Jeff Cavins to Curtis Martin to Rick Warren, Lisa Braddock-Meyer, to name a few over the last few months. That'd be interesting to get to hear your story. So here's my first question. I just want to start with talk about your faith story. How do you share your faith story?
Oh, okay. So my faith story is a long one. So I am a cradle Catholic who I hopped around churches a little bit growing up. So I shared with you right before the call, my mom's side of the family is Puerto Rican. An interesting fun fact, Tom, I found out at her funeral that my grandmother was involved in planting a Hispanic Catholic church in York City when my mom was little. So apparently working in a church is in my blood, and I just didn't know it. The deacon actually shared with me that she was responsible for making that parish actually happen. Now they're combined with another historic parish downtown. But that's just really interesting. So went to this Hispanic parish first.
And where did you grow up? I
grew up in York, Pennsylvania, which is 40 minutes north of Nativity. So I absolutely love anytime I come to Nativity for work, I get to see my family. My whole family is still there. So it's a blessing for me that our home office is so close to home for me because it's about a 6-hour drive otherwise. So by the time I hit first grade, I needed to go to faith formation, and they didn't have that in English there. So we went to another church. It was outside of my school district. I didn't know a lot of kids, and so I didn't feel super connected. But by the time I was in 8th grade, we had confirmation. But I got to tell you, a friend of mine invited me to her evangelical church for her youth group, and I loved it so much. I think I had shared with you at our retreat, Tom, that I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit there, and it was unlike anything I had ever experienced in the Catholic Church. And
so what did you experience? Sorry, Melissa, I will interrupt you.
Yeah.
What did you experience in that youth group you were not experiencing in the Catholic Church? Or, talk about that experience.
Oh my gosh, so many things. So first, just the fellowship. Like, it was the way our classes, we had CCD back then, which we know what Father Michael calls CCD. And it was like Sunday morning and nobody wanted to be there. But in this youth group, it was in the evening. Everybody wanted to go. There were kids who were not members of that church going. And we were doing service projects and just getting to talk. And the youth ministers talked to us and like shared vulnerable life stories and made us feel super comfortable. And then that encounter I had, it was just, I don't even know what you would call it. It was like a night that they had, and there were adults there too, where people, I know some people were there speaking in tongues. I just know that I felt the Holy Spirit come over me in such a way where I just burst into tears and was inconsolable. I could not stop crying. And I came home and told my mom about that, and she was like, nope, we're Catholic. Nope, you're not going back to that. If you want to go to, if you want something different, if you want a youth group, we're just going to change churches. And so we switched to the Catholic parish that was in my school district, where I had a ton of friends. And so it was a much different experience. I didn't have any encounters like that with the Holy Spirit, but we did do a lot of fun things together. We did service projects. We did coffee shops. Our youth minister was actually from Baltimore. And so he brought some of that fun Baltimore charisma up north and had just talked to us in a way where we didn't feel dumb, but he also encouraged us to have real conversations. And that wasn't happening in my last parish. So I felt my faith was super strong all through high school.
Can you before you go on? Okay.
Yeah.
How did you react when your mom said you could not go back to the other church where you just experienced?
I was devastated. I was honestly I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Tom, I learned how to read the Bible there. I had a Bible, but I never had used it. Nobody at CCD had ever shown me how to use the Bible. My parents never showed me how to use the Bible. So I learned you could actually highlight. Did you know that you can highlight in a Bible, Tom? Weird, right? So they showed me that. They taught us how to pray. I knew all my rote prayers growing up, but they taught us how to talk to God in a way I had never thought about before. So I thought that was a turning point for me in my faith, and it was. And I was so upset when that got taken away.
But you were able to embrace this other experience, though.
I did. And that's where I got super involved, from 9th through 12th grade, super involved. And I loved it. It was a great group of people. The youth ministers were awesome. It was a married couple. And we had a lot of fun with them. And then I went to college, and it was,
where did you go to college?
I went to Penn State, and I had a whole lot of fun there. Happy Valley, and it really is Happy Valley. It's so much fun. We did not, and I'm not blaming my spiritual life on this at all, but the 4 years that I was there, the spiritual center was under remodel. So we had mass in basically different auditoriums. So I would go to the same place I would have a class, and that's where mass was. So there really wasn't, I did not have a connection. I did not get into the Newman Club, which looking back, I'm oh, that would have been a really cool thing. But I lived a very secular life. I made it to mass.
You made it to mass when? I have a story for you.
Mass, I would say once or twice a month. It was inconsistent. My roommate was Catholic also, and so that was awesome. She went to mass every single week. She was so good about it. So I tried, but sometimes it was the 5 o'clock mass on Sunday night, but that's just unfortunately how it was.
So I just real quick story. My friends went to Penn State, and I always loved going to Penn State. It is Happy Valley. So they were juniors, seniors, because they spent the first 2 years local. But I remember I was always committed to going to mass in college, and that's another story. But I was at Penn State my friend Lou's, we're at a party and I'm like, where's the church? Or how do I get to church tomorrow? And he's like, I don't know. I think there's a Catholic church. Like, and he gives me some weird, like, I don't remember what he said, like, go that direction. So the next morning I get up and I just start walking in that direction.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea where the church is. I know the name of the church, which I can't remember to this day.
Is it Our Lady of Victory?
It might be. I have no idea. I have no idea the name of the church. But I mean, again, it wasn't like I'm affirming that it didn't seem like Mass was very easily accessible.
It was not easily accessible.
So anyway, I start walking and I walk like a mile and a half, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like 30, 40 minutes. And as I'm walking, this lady is getting some kids into a car. And she looks like she's going to church.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for, again, whatever Catholic church. I saw you. Are you happen to go there? Are you happening to go? She's like, I'm not, but the church I'm going to is very close. I will drive you there.
Oh, that's so nice.
So that's how I got to Mass. But my only point was I was affirming, Melissa, that I love Penn State, Happy Valley. Thought like it was the funnest place to go. Like people were so friendly.
Oh, yeah.
But getting to Mass was not easy. So I'm at least affirming that was my experience as well. Yeah, my friends were probably just heathens, but they were Catholic boys.
They were Catholic heathens.
Yeah.
Well, it was difficult to get to Mass. My kids are telling me now they want to go there. And thankfully, the spiritual center has been remodeled. It's all set now. So they've got a place to go if that's where they end up. But
so you didn't go to church. You didn't go to church.
Not regularly. Once or twice a month.
Did you pray your Bible? Did you read your Bible? Did you keep praying?
Honestly, Tom, I wasn't there. And also during that time, so do you remember when the Da Vinci Code came out? So the Da Vinci Code came out while I was in college. And that made me question a lot of my beliefs. And at the same time as I was reading the Da Vinci Code, I found out that dynamic youth minister that I was so excited about in my little Catholic parish, that he had an affair on his wife, who was our other youth minister. And so those two things combined really had me questioning my faith a lot. And so I kind of fell away a little bit and did not have a strong faith the rest of college then. I would still go to Mass once or twice a month, but I really had more questions than anything else.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. That's it. Yeah. That's interesting. So you fell, pretty typical story, not atypical.
A lot of people that I talk to, it's a very similar story.
But and sometimes it's just not having structure either. Like if there's nowhere to go or it's not there. No. Maybe you had a roommate, but yeah, it's usually just.
Thankfully, my roommate, I think if it weren't for my roommate, I honestly wouldn't have made it. Because, she would say, hey, come on, get in my car. We're going to go to Our Lady of Victory. I'm like, oh, amazing, because I don't have a car here. Perfect. Let's go. So she helped get me there, which was good. So then after college, I was in retail and I worked 50 to 70 hour weeks every other week.
What was your major in college again?
So I was a public relations and advertising major. And I had landed an internship my junior year of college that led me into a career with a big box retailer. And
you can say it, I think, if you want. I don't think you have to.
Yeah, so I worked for Target, and it was a great leadership role. I got to advance pretty quickly. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, Tom, but they gave me a $30 million store when I was like 25. And they were like, here, move to New York, run this store. 200 employees, and it was a lot. It was so much responsibility.
And you were running the whole store?
Running the whole store at 25 years old. Yeah.
Wow, I've not heard this. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I got a ton of my leadership experience. Target is so good at giving you leadership experience both on the job, and they take leadership training very seriously, leadership enrichment very seriously. So I learned a lot of critical thinking.
What were the biggest takeaways of leadership at Target?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Number one,
especially. Go ahead.
Delegation. Delegation is such a huge thing. Layers of leaders is such a huge thing. So at Target, when I was there, the structure was the store team leader, which is the store manager. Then you have executive team leaders. Underneath those are team leaders. And then you had specialists. And then you had team members. So having those different layers helped to get everything done. And it helped where I didn't have to do everything, right? Like, so, and holding people accountable was another huge piece of this. So if I had a department that wasn't doing well, I didn't go down to the team leader of that specific department. I went to my executive team leader and I said, hey, what's happening here? Let's walk through this. You need to hold this person accountable. And so I had to help my executive team leaders hold their people accountable. And then follow up was super important. And all of that translated really well in the parish, which was cool.
At Rebuilt Parish, our mission is simple: to make disciples by helping parishes make disciples. Every day, we see lives and communities transformed when parishes come alive in faith, when people who've drifted away come back to church, and when priests and parish leaders are equipped to lead with confidence and vision. That's what your generosity makes possible. When you give to Rebuilt, you're not just supporting a ministry, you're helping transform lives. You're helping people encounter Christ, deepen their faith, and share it with others through thriving, mission-driven parishes. If you believe in the mission of renewing parishes and bringing people into closer relationship with Christ, please consider making a gift of any amount today. You can learn more or make your gift now at rebuiltparish.com/give. And together, we're making disciples, one parish at a time.
Yeah, that's great stuff on the delegation and building layers of leaders, as you know, we would call it, but I'm sure Target had a different name for it. I would love to talk more about that some more.
Yeah,
we can do that. Your experience. So you're 25 leading a whole store.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And
it's crazy.
How many years did you do that?
So I did that for 3.5 years.
I feel like I should have known that before this podcast, by the way. But,
so I worked.
I'm sure it was presented to me in some ways.
It was on my resume when you hired me. You probably just didn't notice, like 7.5 years of my resume was Target, from intern all the way up.
I knew you worked at Target. I did not know you ran a $30 million store.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Led a whole team of people.
Yep.
Okay, I need to do more homework.
Yeah.
So you did that how many years? 3.5 years to run the store.
3.5 years of running the store. And then, when I was running the store, it was like a minimum of working 50-hour weeks. Running a store, especially my store was going through remodel my last summer there, and it was like 70-hour weeks, and I was having like 9 anxiety attacks a day. With everything. It was rough. Jeff and I had just gotten married at that point, and we wanted to start having a family. And I remember there was a friend of mine who ran the Target store down the road from me, like 20 minutes. We were in her store one day, and we were in her office, and she was crying and saying, I never see my baby. And it was just because there was nothing wrong with Target. It's just a lot of responsibility, right? And if you want to be a hands-on parent, some things have to shift. And I had told Jeff about that. And with this remodel and having all of those anxiety attacks, it was rough. And so I left
before you left, did you talk to anybody there to I'm thinking of leaving, or you just said?
Yeah. So I had talked to my boss, and I had talked to, some people in HR and some of my coworkers, who we all kind of got promoted around the same time. And we were all kind of at some of these points in our lives where we felt like, okay, something has to shift. And I knew I wanted to be a hands-on mom. And so I left when I was pregnant with Andrew. And
not to go much into, I'm just curious how Target handled that. And if you can't say more about that, that's okay. But did they say, go where you think you should need to go, or they helped you discern out, or?
They were very supportive. They understand that people need to be taken care of. So my team was surprised. But I knew what kind of mom I wanted to be. But here's the scary part, and here's where faith really had to come in. So want to talk about not going to mass often and not being engaged in faith, working every other weekend. And it was 10 to 12 hour days. There was no mass on the weekend for me, on weekends where I was working. I couldn't make it to Saturday night. I couldn't make it to Sunday morning. And I had some devotionals and would do them a little bit, but there was nothing consistent there. And I left. I was the breadwinner. So back then, a 6-figure salary was a huge deal, right? So I was making 6 figures. Jeff was making nowhere near that. And we left, and I became a stay-at-home mom. So I went from being the breadwinner to that. And that was a huge adjustment. And it was also a huge, huge leap of faith for us going to that too, because we never had to worry about money when I was working for Target. Money was never an issue. We always had plenty extra. But then we really had to lean on God and trust in him. My faith really, really grew starting there. It was growing because there was always enough money for everything, anything that came along. And so to this day, anything that comes along, God finds a way for us to get the money for what we need. So that's been huge. But I knew that was a step that I had to take for our family. And that right there is a huge part of my faith story too, because I kind of felt like I lost myself a little bit. Like so much of our identity can sometimes be wrapped up in what we do and who we are at work, that outside of that, when that's kind of stripped away, it's like, oh gosh, who am I? What do I do now? I'm home changing diapers and like making baby food from scratch. Like what? What now? What's my purpose? Aside from being a mom and a wife, now what's my purpose? And so there was a lot of soul searching in there. And during that time, I had fallen in love with this direct sales company called 31 Gifts. And they were a faith-based direct sales company. And I ended up selling the products and joining this team. So I was selling like handbags and organizational solutions, and I could do it all from home, except for I'd go out and do like parties, think like Tupperware, right? Did your mom ever have a Tupperware party growing up? And it was great because I could work while the baby was napping, and I was starting to bring in an income. And the cool thing about that was, with it being a faith-based company, the first conference I ever went to with them, it started with praise and worship. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are the songs I heard at my friend's church when I was in 8th grade. I know these songs. Like, this is cool. I mean, it kind of brought some things back to me, and it really sparked my faith right there. And so from there, I started digging into some devotionals. I'd had my second son by then. My business really took off. And that was when I started reading more. And in 2017 is when I read The Purpose-Driven Life for the first time. My word of the year was change. Honestly, I thought that meant we were moving to northern Baltimore County so Jeff could take a job in DC, but that wasn't the case. That change was inside of me and growing in my faith. And I've shared this with you before, Tom. 2017 was the year that I almost left the Catholic Church until I read Rick Warren's words in The Purpose-Driven Life that said, if you don't like your church, don't change churches, change your church. And so that lit a fire in me. And I went and signed up for Walking with Purpose in my parish. And I signed up for Pastoral Council. And at that Pastoral Council meeting, we had a brand new pastor come in. He handed out Rebuilt to everybody. So this is where, when I shared with you, sitting with you and interviewing Lisa and then interviewing Rick, all together, it was just like, wow, this is a full circle moment, because in 2017, Rick Warren's book changed my life. Lisa's Walking with Purpose Bible study changed my life. And reading Rebuilt changed my life. So it's just wild when I look back on these things. I had no idea what God had planned, but it's so cool the way I can now look and say, oh, that is a full circle moment for me.
So you were going back, you're going to leave your church, just because you were frustrated it wasn't doing it for you, or what was going on?
So, oh my gosh, what was going on at my church? Let me tell you, Tom. So it's a beautiful old Catholic church, right? We have been around 177 years now, our parishes, and it was not a very welcoming place. There was no place to take your kids if they were crying. There was nothing for the kids to do there was children's liturgy of the word, but that was inconsistent and not everybody could go. It was kind of weird. There was no nursery situation. There weren't small groups, and it was like led by a bunch of like curmudgeon-y, grumpy people, to be perfectly honest with you. It just was not a great place. And so I'm reading in the purpose-driven life, like, oh, you should be connected to a small group and your church should be doing this. And I'm like, my church doesn't do any of this stuff.
Right. So go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you go through college, you're not going to church, and you're even having some doubts for some, good reasons. And then you go to work for Target and you don't even have, maybe you get there once in a while, and you're not really reading too many devotionals. Then you leave Target, become a mom. Is that when you started was there a moment that re-engaged you, or?
I think it was probably a collection of moments that got me re-engaged. So I think that first one was just, well, first of all, just having to rely on God so much.
Okay, right. Okay.
Especially when it comes to money and what we should do next. Secondly,
so you leaned into prayer more there, or asked
I had to lean into prayer more, yeah. And when it came to deciding if I was going to leave and then when I was going to leave, that was all prayer led. It's amazing what happens when you give all of that to God, just the relief that you feel. Like, I just remember there was this one really hard night where I had a really rough meeting with my boss. I had gotten a new district manager, and I had a rough meeting with him where I had gotten some tough feedback. And I went back to my store and I had to work an overnight. And I started working on, working on a plan. And I worked until 6 a.m. Jeff had already left for the office, and we met at his parents' house for dinner that night. And I remember being outside. We went outside on the porch, and I had been praying all morning about all of this after not sleeping all night. And he was like, you know what? It's going to be okay. You can just leave if you want to. We can't have you having all of these anxiety attacks. We want to start our family. We just have to trust, and it's okay. And after I had some of those same thoughts, God, I'm giving it all to you, to hear him say that, that right there was a big affirming moment. And then throughout with 31 at that one conference that I went to where it started with praise and worship, that was a big moment for me. And then here's the thing too. This is for all of the moms out there who maybe your kids kind of fell away from church. My mom never gave up. So I know two things that she did that really made a difference that got me back into the church and fueled my faith. One of them was she read The Power of Praying for Your Adult Children. And I guarantee you, Tom, that is how my brother and I both survived Penn State and came out alive. That guaranteed that book. And then the second one is she mailed me a copy of The Word Among Us. And I think most people probably know, but it's a monthly publication. You've got all the daily mass readings in there and some other really fun articles. Well, she had gotten an extra one at church and just mailed me a copy. And I started reading it. And here's a crazy thing, Tom, I dug out that old dusty Bible I had, and I started reading the scriptures for daily mass and would highlight them. And I started to see how much of my Bible I was highlighting. And then that started raising more questions well, wait, I already read this year. How come we're reading this reading again? I didn't understand the liturgical structure or anything like that. But it just started raising some questions. And then I started reading more devotionals, and then I tried to read the Bible all by myself. And I had more questions than anything after trying to do the whole Bible on my own, which was why I had shared with Jeff Cavins, his materials had helped so much. They answered all of those questions that I'd had.
So then that leads back up to now to go fast forward. You're engaged in your faith. You're going to church. You're ready to leave because it's not any good. But then you read Rick Warren's challenge to get involved in your church, and then you get involved. So now is this St. Mary's Glens Falls, or is this?
This is St. Mary's Glens Falls. So 2017, I joined Pastoral Council. I'm the head of the communications committee, which that was cool. There's my degree at work right there. So that felt good to me as the stay-at-home mom, right? Running a business from home, but then also getting to use my degree for something for the church. So then I started volunteering even more. One day in my Walking with Purpose Bible study, one of my friends and I were complaining about the church website, how terrible it was. And I said, hang on a second. You know what? Rather than complaining, why don't we just go do something about it? And another woman there was like, hey, did you guys know that I design websites? So the three of us went to our pastor, who was Father Tom at the time, and we said, hey, we'd like to propose creating a new website. So he said yes. And then boom, COVID happened. So that's when, Tom, you know how much shifted in all of the parishes. So we continued to do that during shutdown. We just met virtually while simultaneously trying to do virtual school, which is like next to impossible. God bless Mia. I don't know how she does like homeschool every day, but that is not in my gifting. So we revamped the parish's website. Meanwhile, we got a seminarian, and as like he and I are communicating about the website, he said, Melissa, I know that you love the book Rebuilt, but did you know that there's these webinars out there that you can go to? And one of them is about technology, and one's about communications. And I was like, oh my gosh, amazing. So I joined these, and that's how I really connected with you guys, was through those original webinars during COVID.
So then when did you go on this? So anything else God's doing during that time, or just you feel like things are coming together, I guess, for you?
So it's interesting. I had right before, in the fall of 2019, I had published a faith journal. During that time, I had my own little like business that God had put on my heart, where because of where I had grown in my faith journey, and I had loved like training and speaking and sharing with others. So I had created this that had been published before then, and I'll share with you in a second why this is important to hear. So I was just a volunteer, and then we started working with a little more closely with Rebuilt, and we decided to move forward with coaching, and it was decided by our team that I would be the second chair. So I'm like putting all of these volunteer hours in. And my husband is like, hey, I'm really glad you're involved in the church. That's wonderful. But also, you promised that when Sean went to kindergarten, you'd go back to work. And well, Sean's in kindergarten and you're not retirement age yet. So you gotta find something. So this whole time I'm like looking for a job, and proposed for me to work for the church. I did get hired by the church. I started out part-time at like 8 hours a week. And then just, you know how that goes in church world, Tom, right? Like you just work more and more and more until eventually I became full-time. But right before I became full-time at the church, something happened where God took that faith journal away, and I had to unpublish it and like lay everything down in my own business and give it all, like just give it all up to come work for the church. And I think that's so important because, it really shifted things for me. Like it was really God saying, hey, you know what? It's not time for this yet. I need you to shift your focus, and I need you to work for the church and give this your full attention right now. And it was really hard for me, and it was really emotional, but I did. So I just put all of my focus into working for the parish.
Can you share any more details about that, or what?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I wish I don't have a copy nearby that I can pick up, but the original faith journal had this beautiful piece of artwork on the front. It was this beautiful wave, and I had a designer make my cover for me. Unfortunately, she didn't know this when she designed it. It was a copywritten piece of artwork, and I used it all through my branding because I loved it so much. Like she had found this for me and gave me the assets for it, so I used it. I had gotten an email from this woman in England saying, hi, I just want you to know, this is my name. This is my artwork. Here you can see it on my website. This is not up for sale. I need you to cease and desist using this. And that really scared me because I didn't have the money for like any sort of like, legal help or anything like that. And so I was so upset by this because I'm like, God, why would this happen? Like, this is a faith journal. This is to help other women connect with their faith. Like, this is, I don't understand. And, I didn't then and I do now. But I looked at this woman's website and I saw that she had a whole section of faith artwork. And so I was like, all right, there is my in. I am just going to, after praying about it, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let her know what it is that I do, and just let her know I'm unpublishing it, and just turned off my whole website and everything. So I shared like, hey, I'm in the faith world too. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I hired somebody to do this. She didn't know it was copywritten. It's all down now. It's all down. But looking back, I see why God had to do that, because my attention was split.
What if your parish could experience renewal that starts with inspiration and leads to real transformation? At Rebuilt, we love sharing the message of parish renewal, how ordinary parishes can reach the lost, engage the faithful, and build thriving communities of disciples. Our team travels to parishes and dioceses across the country for keynotes, workshops, and parish missions, including Lenten missions that invite people to encounter Christ in a fresh way. If you're planning your next parish event, conference, or mission, consider bringing Rebuilt to your community. Whether it's a single talk or a full weekend experience, we'll help your parish dream bigger, take the next step, and imagine what's possible when renewal begins. Visit rebuiltparish.com/speaking to learn more and start the conversation today. Let's rebuild the church together.
When did you go fully to work for the parish then?
So I joke that like 20 hours a week was like what I ended up doing.
Right.
And then it ended up being more than that. I was more like between 30 and 40 then from like most of 2022. So 2021 is when I bumped, more than doubled what I was working at the parish, and then went like full time for 2022 when we revamped everything for NextGen.
Okay. So what in the parish, what were your biggest, what are the biggest things you're proud of there of what you did at St. Mary's?
So the first thing would be the leadership team that we built. I shared with you that layers of leaders, and we didn't call it that at Target, but that was like one of the things that we really focused on, was having the right people in the right places. And that translates across multiple types of businesses. And Tom, when I came into this parish, it was rough. The team that was there very much reminded me of the first couple chapters of Rebuilt when you're describing the team of people you had working in the church. I mean, the people that were working there weren't even nice to each other. They weren't even nice to other people. It was rough. I found myself some days just looking around and saying, this is a church. Why aren't you people nice? Like, what is happening? Some of the stories are just unbelievable, just crazy. So really revamping that whole team is one of the things I'm most proud of, because I look at them now and most of them are still there and they're doing great things.
Okay, so you didn't fire people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't get to fire them. I held them accountable. I did all the paperwork to make it happen, but only a pastor can actually do the firing. And
Right.
Trust me, these people, so when we were in between Father Tom and Father Scott, because Father Tom moved parishes when I was about a year into my role. And when we were about a year in with Rebuilt, we had an interim pastor over the summer. And so it was interesting because we had 3 people in particular that were just rough to work with. It was just a rough situation. And they had asked, Melissa can't fire us, can she? Like, does she have the power to fire us? Like, they wanted to know. And Father Tom was like, she actually can't. But I was the one who had to do all of the paperwork. And thankfully, that interim pastor helped us to terminate all 3 of their employments before Father Scott got there. So we were set up for success.
So you had to get rid of it. How big was the team?
We had to get rid of those 3 people. Before
I
that,
was going to say, how many changed? How many were good? How many changed? And how many just you got rid of?
so there's only one person there that was still working there when I got there, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. That's what I would have thought, but okay.
Yeah, there's only one person that's still there that was there when I got there. Otherwise, it's all new people. We changed the structure too. The org chart needs to change to reflect the way the parish needs to be run too. So we took some ideas from Rebuilt And, rather than having a parish secretary, because you don't need that. There's put that money towards something else. We did the volunteer receptionists, and that just changed so much for us too.
Some things you redefine positions and didn't.
Yep. We created new positions. Like, we didn't have a business and operations manager before. We didn't have a volunteer coordinator before, but we created those positions to help fill the needs we actually had.
And then they can apply for the position, but they're not going to get it anyway. But that's a way around.
Yeah, that's how it works for NextGen. Yeah.
The people listening that when you need to move people out, there is all the HR stuff you got to go through, but other ways you can do it are, we're creating a new position. You can apply for that. That's one way around it. Another way we will often do it is, we're going to begin this performance, this PIP, right?
Yeah. Had to do those.
Begin a PIP, and we will put you on it. If you want to leave now, we'll give you a severance and you can leave.
Yeah.
Or we can go undergo this and you choose what you want, whichever one you want. Because often one of the reasons people don't leave is like, what am I going to do for money? But if you give them a little bit of money, if you pay them to go away, that's helpful. I always say too, and I don't know as much, I know this is your experience, I always want to put the decision on them.
Yeah.
As much as possible. So, for example, I would say to somebody, now, Melissa, I would never say this to you, but Melissa, the person that is in your position is going to treat people with respect and dignity and going to bring a good attitude to work each day. Now, Melissa, you're going to choose if that's you or someone else. I'm not choosing it. You're going to choose it. And I will be the evaluator of that or whatever. The person in your position is going to do X, Y, and Z. And again, if you don't want to do that, let's come up with a plan to help you land softly somewhere else. If you want to do that, all right, but you're going to do that. And then if you get to this point, you're not going to do it, then we're not going to have you on the team anymore. Anyway, so that's
a really nice way of doing it. That's a lot nicer than what I did. I was like cold hard facts. I was like, on this date, this happened. On this date, this happened. On this date, I tracked all of the.
Well, you need to do that too, to say this is how you're not doing to the standard.
Yeah.
This is how you're not living up to the expectations of this position in this organization. So anyway, a lot on that for how we help, because we have to move people out at some point, and you need to do it. You can't do it just firing people left and right. You can't do that. But you need to do it in a measured way, but often it needs to happen.
100%. And I have to say,
maybe we can do a podcast on that, Melissa, how to get rid of.
We definitely could.
We should definitely do that.
We really should, because that's one of the hardest things in parish life, because some pastors, they're so pastoral where they're like, but she needs the money. I know she needs the money. We all need money, Father, but we can't let her treat people this way. Like, this is a church, and that her behavior is not acceptable. Like, Tom, I mean, the stories I could tell, I'm not kidding you. When we fired somebody, we learned big lessons, like get all of their passwords and all of their equipment before you term them. She turned off our online giving. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, this is like how crazy it gets. So we really should do an episode on and here are some things you should think about before you do the termination, because I learned a lot of lessons the hard way.
So then I want to wrap up because we're a little bit longer and I have a couple fun questions for you that I want to do. But so what was your decision then, Discernment, then you were at St. Mary's and you came for Rebuilt? And I'll be honest, let me just say something, because I want listeners here to understand this. And when they offered me your name, I said no.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know you said that.
And here's why I said no. And I do not want parishes thinking they're competing with us for staff.
Right.
Like, I don't want, So I just think, and to me, working in the parish is what we are promoting as, I want to uplift parish leaders. One of the things I hope comes from Rebuilt is that people who work in the parish, church workers, know their dignity, know their worth, know how much what they do matters. And one of the frustrations I have, it's like, again, often seen as something minimal. Oh, you're going to work at a church, right? And one of our, maybe it's an unwritten thing, but what I hope is that over time, one of my, I guess, dreams for Rebuilt, or that's still a long way, is that the church will recognize how valuable church workers are, pastors, parish leaders, and promote that more, pay more, do all that. So all that, when they offered me your name, I'm like, no, I don't want to see that. But I think what I understood, and maybe I didn't even, was that there were different circumstances that it was making more sense, that it wasn't like, hey, I'm leaving this because this is better work or whatever. There was other circumstances to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I just wanted to give that background.
Yeah. I love sharing this part of the story. I really do, because it's completely 100% Holy Spirit led. So at the end of 2022, I start doing a life evaluation, and I'm like, I noticed the one place I was killing it was at work, but everywhere else I felt unfulfilled. Like I had only achieved one goal I had set for the whole year. And I'm somebody who, like, I love setting goals. I love achieving goals. I love dreaming big. And I started feeling this like little fire in my belly, like to do more. And God started to spark something where I had shared with you about that faith journal. And I had created this brand, Anchored with Purpose, back in, like I had shared with you, 2019. And that's where I had to unpublish that. Well, God started lighting this fire that I should do something more. And one of the things that I heard in prayer was, Melissa, you've made a big impact on tiny little Glens Falls, New York. But now I need you to make an impact on the global Catholic Church. And I started feeling this tug where I should be doing speaking, and I should be podcasting, and I should really be helping make this global change in the Catholic Church. And so I shared all of this with my pastor and business and operations manager as soon as I started really like feeling a lot of this. And I said, hey, just so you know, this is how I'm feeling. I don't know what it means, but I think it means that I'm not going to be working for St. Mary's much longer. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm just letting you know this is kind of how I'm feeling. So then Colleen had called me, Colleen from our team, and said, hey, we're having this thing for coaching parishes called Rebuilt Live, and we want you to come and speak at this. And I was like, oh, Colleen, this is exactly the kind of thing I want to be doing. But here's the deal. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be working at St. Mary's. And I shared with her, I'm feeling this call to make a global impact. I'm feeling this call to be public speaking and podcasting, but I don't know how I'm going to make it all happen. And she said, Melissa, did you know that we have a job opening? And I said to her, actually, I did. I did see that on your website. And she shared with me what it was. And she's like, this sounds like it would be a way for you to get to do these things. And so that's kind of how it all happened. It was not a Colleen calling me to recruit me kind of thing. It was before I even knew about this position. I had already told my pastor and our business and operations manager, I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay here, but this is what I'm feeling called to do. And so here I am. That's kind of how it all happened.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that seems a great place to stop. Let me ask a fun question. Who's been your favorite person to interview on a podcast?
Oh my gosh, that is so tough. That is so tough because, oh my gosh, I think I have to say Rick Warren, because his book just absolutely changed my life. And the whole time we're talking to him, I'm just sitting here like, don't fangirl. But it was awesome getting to talk to him.
All right, that wasn't who I was going to guess, but okay.
Who were you guessing, Lisa?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close second. She's a close second for sure.
Any other favorite episodes that you've really enjoyed, or all good other parish leaders?
So many great ones. I always love talking to our partner parishes too. Like when we get to talk to some of our priests, like Father Mark, and getting to hear all the great things that he's doing. And I mean, I love getting to do that. But I think another favorite besides Rick, besides Lisa, getting to talk to Jeff Cavins too. Like, I think just because of how we joked so much during that episode, it just made it so lighthearted and fun. Like, church work doesn't have to be completely serious all the time. We have a lot of fun in this world.
He was hysterical. I don't remember what was before the podcast and what was afterwards, but
I know. The Justin Jefferson references were just, I love it. I love it.
The what references? Sorry, I coughed as you said that.
Justin Jefferson, how we were talking about him before
Father Michael.
And yes.
Number one guest you'd love to have on that we haven't, or a few people you would love to get on the podcast. We can.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me think. I'd love to get Carrie Newhoff on the podcast. Okay. I'd love to get Craig Rochelle. I'd love to get Bobby Grunwald. So those are three. Let's see. Just from from a music standpoint, if we could get like Forrest Trank or like someone fun like that too. I mean, not that he's got anything to do with parish renewal, but I mean, just the music is pretty fun.
I don't know who that is, so that's.
I bet your kids do.
Okay.
He's got some really fun music, and it just gets stuck in your head all day, and then you just find yourself worshiping all day without even trying, which is really cool.
Final question: anybody else from Catholic world you want to get on the podcast? Those other three are all evangelicals.
I know, they kind of are. I see that. I always just have still a little bit of tug towards that evangelical world. I think that's why I love Rebuilt so much, is we take so much from evangelical world and make it Catholic. Who else haven't we gotten to talk to yet that I would love to talk to? I think, let me think, if we could get Jonathan Rumi, just because what he's done with The Chosen has been really cool. We used that. We're still using that at St. Mary's for our older kids and teaching through that. So I think just to hear his perspective on how The Chosen is being used in Catholic world, I think would be cool. Let's see, who else? I mean, think about pretty much anybody on the Hallow app right now, just to hear some of their experiences. I think it'd be cool to get Alex from Hallow on here too.
All right. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Melissa, for being on the podcast or letting me interview you. Hopefully this was fun and helpful.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you. Right. This is the easiest podcast interview I've done yet.
All right. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you to all of our listeners. We'll see you next time.